can't face it today.
Yeah, I'm done. That's it. Welcome to Esoterica, and welcome to our third episode. Yay!
And as we all know, the third's always the best in the series.
That's right. Yeah, just like movie trilogies, the third's always the best. It's where we finish everything off. That's it.
We tie all the loose
We're
ends and
done.
things. I think what James is trying to say is welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to the latest episode of Esoterica. This is number 3 in the series.
I'm James.
This is James. Hence, sitting opposite me right now. We actually have an upgraded setup. I don't know if this is going to be one of those weird things where we sort of...
It's an upgraded setup. We spent a hell of a long time trying to set up our upgraded setup, and we're still not quite sure whether our upgraded setup is going to fall to bits halfway through this podcast.
It's a bit like our lives, really. It's hanging up by a string, really.
That's right. So it's episode number 3, and it's been quite nice, actually. This is the first episode that we've actually recorded after the other episodes have gone out. So we already had episode 1 and 2 in the bag before we released our first episode. So it's the first episode that we're doing where we've had an opportunity to see some of your feedback on our podcasts and stuff. And so far, most of the stuff that I've got's been pretty positive. How about you, Anthony?
Yeah, no, same here. It's been really neat. And I think what's been really cool for us as well is we're now on Spotify, as you might know, which is very good. But no, the feedback's been great. So thank you for that, and thank you for listening to
Absolutely.
us. It's nice to have a bit of support. And
please make sure also to jump on and give us a follow at Esoterica Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and Esoterica Pod on Twitter. And that's probably the best way of getting a hold of us. Letting us know what you think, asking questions, those sorts of things. Also keeps you up to date with our latest content, lets you know when we've released episodes, those sorts of things. So jump on, give us a follow, that would be awesome. So what are we going to talk about today, Anthony?
well, today we're going to talk about television. We're going to talk about...
Because we've done all other kinds of...
Well, we've sort of... Because James brought this up earlier, we've sort of covered... Well, we haven't covered, but we've touched on sort of video games, and we've touched on conspiracy theories. There's only one thing left. It's television.
That's right. Well, we did tell you this is actually only a 3-episode run of podcasts. After 3 episodes, we've completely run out of things to talk about.
Done.
There's absolutely nothing else.
Done. We're putting a cap on it.
That's right. Although in saying that, I do have to say that Anthony's feeling rather sick today.
Oh yeah, I'm not feeling well.
So he's battling on.
We edit some violin music.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah. The world's smallest violin. But so he's here battling on to get this content out for all of you. So if he sounds a bit sick or a bit down, that's
because
why.
I am.
Because
It's because we're talking about television programs like The Big Bang Theory. No, it's too early to be jumping in on that. But so I do apologise if throughout it I sound not great. Huge upgrade from previous episodes. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about television because, everyone has an opinion on television. It takes up so much of our lives, really. It's something that you either watch over dinner or you watch in the morning when you're watching the news before you go to work or something.
You watch
television
at night or during the day or in the morning or some other time that you're awake.
This is great. We're on form today. This is flowing really well.
This is quality content.
I love how we're trying to make it relate to people's lives as if it doesn't already. Like, as if it's not enough just to say television.
And people are going to understand what you're talking about. That's right. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about our favourite TV series that we hate, things that ruined.
Hate's a strong word.
But it is hate, though.
It is.
Vitriolic hate. Or TV series that we liked, that were destroyed through stupid creative decisions. Well, at least in our opinion, stupid creative decisions. That sort of thing. So the reason that this sort of came up as a topic is because I were leading my incredibly interesting life. I was sitting at home all day yesterday, not doing a hell of a lot, and decided, as you do, to jump onto Netflix and binge watch television. But, like binge watch in that kind of way where you just want something on in the background where, you've already sort of seen it. You're not really that engaged with what's going on. It's just kind of noise in the background. And what I jumped to was How I Met Your Mother, which loved as a TV series, loved it, very formulaic in the same kind of way that something like Friends was or something like that. But good value, good to have on in the background, funny episodes, that sort of stuff. But the reason that this sort of made me think of talking about this in the podcast or talking about this with you is that I was with How I Met Your Mother right up until the end. And needless to say, although I'm going to say it because otherwise people will complain, there will be spoilers out there in some of these shows if some of you, for whatever reason, have been living under a rock and haven't seen the ends of some of these shows.
Yeah, it was a long
whatever.
time ago now, really.
I know, but you kind of feel like you have to let people know that you're going to potentially be talking about the endings of shows. But for me, the ending of How I Met Your Mother just completely shat the bed. It was absolutely, probably in my mind, the worst ending of a TV show ever.
That's a big claim.
I know it's a big claim.
There've been some bad. Right, am I right, Dexter fans?
But like even okay, so if you want to go like okay, other TV shows that have had bad endings, like something like say people got up in arms about Sopranos cutting to black or something like that. You can kind of go like stylistically that kind of makes sense. It was a great ending. What do you do? Like it was divisive, but at least it kind of made sense. The How I Met Your Mother ending was just it is a prime example to me of TV show where you've got the ending in mind right from the beginning. And you've got the ending in mind right from the beginning, and then the show runs for longer than you think it's going to. And then you keep the same ending in mind, and you keep not... The bizarre thing is not even working towards that ending, because they sort of did everything, especially in season 8 and 9, they did everything to work away from that ending. So they made you really care about Barney and Robin. They made you really care about their relationship. They really sort of ended that relationship to a large extent between Ted and Robin. They sort of put the kibosh, the real ending on that one, and went, you were really invested in the mother, and then all of a sudden, what is it, like the last episode, they're like, oh yeah, and she died, and I kind of want to go out with your Aunt Robin. And they're like, yeah, that's awesome, go Dad, that's amazing. And you're like, what the actual fuck?
Well, and the whole premise of the show, How I Met Your Mother, and you don't actually meet the mother until the last, I think, 2 episodes from memory. And so it's not like the series made it seem like it was weaving this really clever way of how these people ended up together. And then in the end threw that away and, oh, look, there's a new person on the scene, and end up... and especially after episodes like that one with, you talk about like Barney and Robin, fantastic episode, the one where Barney sets up with the others that elaborate plan to get Robin back. That about the book or something.
Oh, about the all the plays and stuff and shit that he'd run. And it was how it was all this big long play to get Robin. Like everything
that was fantastic. That was very well done, that episode.
Oh, I think again, like in terms of writing, and I don't want to completely rag on How I Met, pardon me, How I Met Your Mother, because like in terms of writing, they really did a phenomenal job of backwards engineering stuff and lacing stuff all the way through the entire run of the show. That all came together. The Yellow Umbrella is a prime example of that. All that kind of stuff that sort of weaved the whole way through, which I thought was really, really cool. And there was some really great writing in that show. Really great comedic writing, but and this is going to become quite a large theme for me as we go through this. This is one of my problems with especially American TV series that are successful.
Yeah. And
the big problem that I have with them is that it seems to be, or at least this is completely anecdotal, but it seems to me that English TV series, again, obviously because they don't fulfill as many episodes per season, so they tend to be doing about 10, whereas American TV series do about 24 a season for a popular TV show.
It's a classic one, like, for example, The Office UK, and then you've got The Office US.
Yeah.
Which,
However, I would say on the other side is an example of doing an English TV show right in a different way.
It found its feet.
But the problem is that when it becomes when these shows become very successful, what they do is they just carry on and on and on and on and on. And you gradually get to the point where you're like, actually, we've done everything there is to do. There's actually no more exploring of character that we can do in here. We can't watch these people. It's the Friends syndrome, yeah? Everybody by this point has dated everybody else. We've kind of really plumbed the depths of their relationship with their parents, with their boyfriends, with their girlfriends, with each other, with work, with absolutely everything. And you just get to the point where you're like, what stories are there actually left to be told?
Absolutely.
And I kind of felt that How I Met Your Mother started to get a bit that way, sort of season 7 or so, and then obviously they kind of went season 8 and 9, these are going to be the last. And I particularly enjoyed season 9, which, particularly most of season 9 happened at Barney and Robin's wedding. It sort of happens over the period of, about 48 hours or so. And I thought there was some really clever writing in there, and there was some really clever exploration of character that wrapping everything up, tying everything up really nicely, which we don't always get with TV series whenever they get cancelled suddenly or whatever. You don't tie up major plot points or whatever. Tied everything up really nicely, came to a really satisfying conclusion where everyone was kind of like, yep, Barney grew up, found the love of his life. Robin settled down, found that she could be happy with somebody, she didn't have to give up being independent to be with somebody. Ted found the love of his life. Everybody was happy. It was great, right? And then it's like, we put the sting in the tail. We were just like, no, she died. I now want to be with your Aunt Robin.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So is it, it's obviously a lot of it's studio pressure. Studio pressure to keep the show running, to milk the cash cow.
In terms of long-running series.
Yeah. I think a really good example of that as well is something like Twin Peaks, the first 2 seasons, where, of course, David Lynch had an idea of where the whole thing was going to go, and then during season 2, due to studio pressure, he actually left the show for a while. He actually left about midway through. From memory, I think around episode 10, maybe a little bit later, and didn't come back till about episode 20 or something. And there's a noticeable dip in quality. But the reason he got so annoyed and left was because at the time, the studio, I can't remember the studio off the top of my head, but they wanted David Lynch to reveal the killer earlier than he wanted to.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they were like, no, people are going to lose interest. Tie it all up. You've got to push it out. And David Lynch, being the kind of person David Lynch is, said, you know what, no, stuff it, I'm out. I'm done. So he left. He eventually came back, and luckily season 2 kind of redeems itself. But again, this is a short... 2 seasons to Americans, really short.
Yeah.
That's a really short period of time for a show.
Yeah.
But he wasn't having a bar of it. Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's studio pressure interfering with creativity, and
absolutely. But again, with How I Met Your Mother, I kind of sit there and I go, I just feel like it was this dogged insistence that we're going to stick to the ending that we've already got. Like, that ending would have been brilliant if the show had run for about 3 or 4 seasons. Yeah. When Ted and Robin were still at the will they, won't they thing, they're perfect together, but, they never quite get it together. But, especially later on, we spent so much time concentrating on, Ted not falling for the one that wasn't the one, and that him and Robin actually weren't each other's one. Like, they were good together, but they weren't... Yeah. They weren't that madly in love thing that the whole show kind of focuses around. Everybody needs to find that one person who is their absolute one. Yeah. And then it was like, no, but we're just going to... No, stuff that doesn't matter anymore.
Quite a common issue. So I guess... Because what we've seen quite often is that, as we know with things like TV series... due to audience reaction and just due to the actors doing really well at their jobs, even the writers sometimes find, wow, actually this is really working. This relationship between these people is really working. We're going to write that even better. It's unexpectedly good. And you see it in film and things all the time where the writers will adapt.
Yeah, chemistry works.
Yeah, chemistry, or even the storyline. I mean, you see it with authors all the time. They will adapt, like we talked about, if they've got an ending in mind. However, as we know with writers, they go in a direction, then they find, actually, that no longer makes sense. I'm going to adapt that. And I mean, you see, classic example, of course, is, I don't really want to stray too much off of television, but a classic example, say J.K. Rowling with the Harry Potter series. She completely adapted the ending. It was it was quite different. Because it no longer made sense to do things like, I'm going to kill off Ron or whatever.
I'm going to come up with one of my world famous segues in a minute, where I'm going to segue from this to Doctor Who.
I was wondering how long it would take.
But we're going to bring back our incredibly accurate scale of accuracy, a 0 to 10 scale here, the only scale that realistically matters. So I'm gonna ask you two questions, Anthony. Okay, I want to know 0 to 10. 0 being just, why did they even put it on TV? This is the word. It shouldn't exist. Yeah. Right, through to 10, it is a finely crafted masterpiece. Yeah, it should hang,
watershed moment,
and it should, I don't know, be displayed in the Louvre Museum next to the Mona Lisa. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to ask you two things. I want to know what you think of How I Met Your Mother as a TV series generally.
Yep.
And then what you think of the ending on the scale of 0 to 10.
Okay. I was never a huge fan of How I Met Your Mother. It was one of those shows that you sort of put on that
in the background.
But I really enjoyed it. I'd say about a 7. I really enjoyed it. It's very formulaic. It's like it's sort of what you want. Although the great thing about How I Met Your Mother is it did have overarching sort of storylines that tied it all together. It wasn't sort of self-contained episodes. But it was easy enough that you could just put it on and watch it.
Yeah.
And you can with that program. You can sort of, if it's on TV and it's on any random episode, you can just pick it up and watch it. About a 7. Some of the characters just never grabbed me. It was like Friends, but on heat. About a 7. The ending, probably about a 3. It wasn't. I'm trying to think of ways to redeem it, but I really don't. I can't really think of anything. No, I think they completely dropped the ball with it.
Yeah.
I don't particularly have. It's really hard to come up with anything really interesting about How You Met Your Mother, because that one of the best things about How I Met Your Mother is it doesn't sort of take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
And so trying to form any sort of like deep opinion on How I Met Your Mother is like, but it serves its purpose. It's a great program to watch. It's funny and Yeah.
So I actually, funnily enough, tend to agree with you on pretty much everything. In terms of, I'm probably about a 7. In terms of, again, as I said to you, out of the thousands and thousands of things available on Netflix, I pulled it up to chuck it on because I just wanted something kind of in the background that was ticking along while I was sort of concentrating on other things. Great thing to pick up, and it served its purpose incredibly well. That kind of sitcom that exists in that kind of after dinner slot at night, that you can't guarantee a watching audience every night. You need to be able to sort of, as you said, pick it up and put it down. So I'd be about a 7 as well. And very controversially, I'm going to turn around and say I know that the big criticism of How I Met Your Mother was it was kind of, they just did Friends. Like, it was Friends, but like kind of a newer version of Friends. Just for all the heat in the world, I'm going to say, to me, it's Friends, but funny. I'll come back to that. And again, with the ending, I'm about a 2 or 3. I think they really dropped the ball, and I think it was a prime example of bloody-mindedly sticking to a plot and not actually feeling out where the characters actually were and where the storylines actually were. And the reason that I'm going to... Now, here's the world-famous segue. Bringing this to Doctor Who, and how I'm going to bring this to Doctor Who, is when you mention writing to the characters, and you see sometimes that TV series and things will go down a new track, or they'll refine themselves based on, when actors sort of find their feet with a character or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You see this in Doctor Who all the time. So you see this anytime you have the introduction of a new Doctor, anytime you have the introduction of a new companion. A new Doctor's first season is usually a little bit awkward. as everybody's sort of trying to find their feet with kind of who exactly is this doctor, how exactly do they speak. By the time they get into their second and especially their third season, you're starting to go, they've got the character down, they know exactly, the patter of how they talk, they've got their own little idiosyncrasies, and you see the writers adapt the way they write towards the specific companion or the specific doctor. And I think that's a really good way of writing. And I think if you're going to be writing these series that go on forever and ever and ever, you need to be able to adapt the way you write characters, and you need to be able to adapt to sort of what your viewing public, to a certain extent, is telling you. I don't think you should be ruled by your viewing public.
No, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're serving them, aren't you? I mean,
absolutely,
to a degree.
Absolutely.
Of course, you don't want to lose artistic integrity or whatever.
Absolutely.
But there's a balance.
And look, and before we get lots of hate, I realise that there are British shows that have run forever and ever and ever and ever, and I realise that there are some shows that have run forever and ever and ever, such as Coronation Street and.
That is a soap opera,
Home and Away and all those sorts of things. But again, I would argue that soap operas are very different. And soap operas are very different largely because, you don't get to the point where you sort of explored everything about a character, because generally there tends to be quite large turnover or high turnover.
Because there's not much to explore. They're pretty shallow.
And we all know that you can generally watch a soap opera and you can pick up a soap opera having not watched it in 10 years and sit down and pick it up and go... Oh, yeah, okay, that's where we're at.
That's what Chris Warner's up to these days.
That's what Chris Warner's up to these days. That's right. Nothing that much changes, if you know what I mean. Please tell me that's not a photo of your penis.
It was more indignant. It was please don't.
Not that I watch Shortland Street, because I absolutely categorically don't watch Shortland Street. It's just,
that went viral.
That has just become such a... everybody knows...
Alec Baldwin.
yeah, about not looking at people's penises.
Yeah. But it was such a bizarre thing, wasn't it? It was like, I hate elaborating on this because it's such a... But I mean, it wasn't the fact that... It was the way that the line was delivered. It wasn't like he was disgusted that he saw that. It was more that he was more upset about it being his. Like, please don't tell me that's your... it was such
penis.
A bizarre... It was such a
Not why do you have a penis on your phone?
Yeah.
Please tell me it's not your penis.
Yeah, it was such a bizarre...
but look, hey, more power to them. They're now a musical. Apparently, Shortland Street, the musical. And I've heard, or at least I've read, early reviews are good.
You can't trust reviews.
But, you can't trust
In New Zealand, you can't trust theatre reviews.
You can't. I saw this on Broadway and this is so much better. No.
No,
it isn't. Just isn't. But I mean, again, whether that's because, and again, look, not shitting on Shortland Street the musical, but if whether that's because the show's really great or whether that's because there's a big nostalgia factor, I think with some Kiwis, because I think they look back at the very early days of Shortland Street.
And I just imagine with something
you're not in Guatemala now, Dr. Ropata.
Well, that's what I mean. I feel like I haven't seen. I'm not at all an authority to talk about it because I know nothing about it, but I feel like it's going to be filled with knowing winks towards the audience about little in jokes.
Mate,
and things,
since when has being a knowing authority on anything been a prerequisite of this podcast? We're here to give you our completely unsolicited opinions on absolutely everything. So now that we've talked about it, now that I've got that off my chest, because that just upset me again whenever I was watching it through, and I could feel it creeping up. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could feel it destroyed the good writing of season 9 for me, because I was like, the ending's coming and the ending's dumb. This is a really dumb ending.
Is that Capaldi? Is it?
No, sorry, that's How I Met Your Mother. And I was just like, this is a really dumb ending. So I want to move slightly tangentially to a series that I know we've both talked about that I loved, and I think it's probably one of the best written TV series in a very long time, is Maniac.
Yes. Yeah, Maniac's fantastic.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Loved everything about it.
Yeah.
Loved the style. Loved the writing. Loved the casting. I loved the fact that they said it was a limited season. That was it. It was bada bing, bada boom. Here's the story that we have to tell.
Self-contained, yeah.
Story's done. That's it.
And it was so well polished. Like,
Oh.
it didn't feel like there was any sort of wasted time. It felt like it was very calculated, I guess.
Yeah.
And I love this trend. And we've seen this recently, and I think it's because this is very bizarre to think, but sort of my generation are now at an age where and I think even the generation above mine are now at an age where they're getting nostalgic about things like the original IBM computer and things like and it's such a weird thing, and I think that was the really cool thing about Maniac, is it was sort of all retro futurism. You know, it was a bit like which
that vaporwave kind of style.
it totally is a
vape.
vaporwave thing, and I think that's why vaporwave's so big now, because it's crazy to think there are people that are getting nostalgic about Windows 95.
Okay, so here's a mind-blowing thing, right? Like, here's what suddenly jumped into my mind, right? Is I sit there and I go, whenever you played all those games, right? All those games in like the 80s and stuff, or in that vaporwave kind of style.
I can't
Neo, the Neo Tokyo, all that sort of stuff. And it's all like, Neo Tokyo 2033, which is like,
well, no, not even that. Akira was 2020.
Yeah, so you sit there and you go, in the 1980s, it's like, that's so far in the future. Like, and now we're almost there. Do you wonder if our society will just end up as this massive vaporwave-looking society and, that sort of thing? Literally because of nostalgia. Literally because it was something that we came up with in, like, the 80s. And then everyone was like, actually, nah, this is really cool. It becomes really cool again. And so we kind of end up making the future look like the future we predicted back then, because we were nostalgic for how we thought the future was going to look back then. Do you get what I mean? Like,
concept, but yes,
a weird, bizarre,
it's such a strange. And I mean, on that note as well of like Neo Tokyo in 2020, like, I mean, Akira fans will know this, but
hipsters are the forefront.
Oh, God help us all. But with like Akira, as we know, with the Tokyo Olympics coming up, and it is 2020, isn't it? And they're actually making a live-action film of Akira, which, you've always got to be a bit dubious about an anime live-action film. But that movie, Akira, is actually set in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
Amazing.
And it ends with, the giant monster bursting out of the stadium and stuff.
How cool would that be if that was crazy. Like the closing ceremony of the Olympics?
It would be. I think a lot of people would be very confused.
Big wink and a nod.
A very expensive wink and a nod.
Yeah.
But but that's what we love. It's that sort of that retro futurism. Yeah. And I mean, Maniac makes no sort of apologies about that. I mean, it's all that. It's very much a bit like, which is why I think things like Alien have become real popular again, because it's that retro 80s computerism of what they thought the future would look like. And there's something really charming about it. And you see it with Maniac, like you see the obvious references to things like IBM and those
Atari.
Big, Atari, those big mega, and you see it in things like Blade Runner. It's those big mega corporations. It ties into the whole dystopian thing of big mega corporations who are taking over the world. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, and everybody apparently only lights things in purple LEDs. That's
and neon
like
signs still very
purplish
popular.
LEDs. Yeah. But I mean, I loved the concept. I loved the writing. I thought they did an incredible job of pacing it out over the season. Like, they built to those sort of cliffhanger beats, really well within the story.
Yeah, those self-contained little storylines, which are very cool.
I literally binge watched this from beginning to end of the season. Like, I was just like, no, I have to know what happens next. Yeah. It was, when you get a really good book and you just can't put it down and all of a sudden it's sort of 3 o'clock in the morning. That's kind of how I was with Maniac. I was just like, no, I have to see what happens. I have to see what happens. And I haven't felt like that about a TV show in a long time. I loved it. I really loved it. I think it's, I think it's one of the best pieces of TV, to come out in a hell of a long time. And how good is Jonah Hill?
Very, very, very good. Very, very good.
Like, because when I looked at the trailer and I was like, it's Jonah Hill and Emma Stone, I was kind of like,
an interesting pairing.
Okay, interesting pairing.
It works.
But they
were both phenomenal. And I thought, but with Jonah Hill, I thought it was really cool for him and Emma Stone to a degree, but with Jonah Hill, because of the self-contained storylines, how they're living out different timelines, how he got to play, and he would have loved it knowing Jonah Hill, he got to play quite different characters within his character.
Yeah.
And at times it is hilarious. It's one of those shows that have come out recently enough that I don't want to spoil too much, obviously, but like the scene in the UN chamber is hilarious. It's genuinely hilarious.
But I mean, like, he's just... He's demonstrated his chops. Yeah, he's gone from being sort of budget version Seth Rogen, to being a real acting powerhouse on his own. Like, he's shown huge range. Not just comedic chops, but dramatic chops as well.
Seth Rogen's another one who's proved, because I mean, they have quite similar. They come from that sort of comedy, stoner comedy kind of thing, and Seth Rogen had proved it with the Steve Jobs film as Wozniak and things like that. Like, they both are more than capable of doing very different roles, and that's really exciting. I think it's really cool.
So what I'll do is again, we're going to come back to our incredibly accurate scale of accuracy, the only scale that matters. So 0 to 10, and I'm going to ask you what you would rate this particular series, because I think it's probably too early, as you said. Like, a lot of people may not have seen this particular, and if you haven't seen it, jump onto Netflix and watch this. It is amazing. I cannot recommend it highly enough. But so I'm not going to ask you about endings or anything too specific. But on the only scale that matters, give me a rating for this show,
for Maniac. It's really hard. I mean, I think a 9, bordering on maybe a 9.5, I think. I thought the ending was fantastic. I thought it was perfect, really. I obviously can't really talk about it, but it was perfect. I thought pacing was perfect. It's funny, there's always something that isn't tangible about a TV series that always pushes it over the edge for you. There's always something, like a feeling you get from it. I felt like while I was watching it, I thought, this is technically stunning. Like, this is a really great show, but there's just not enough for me to give it a 10. Because that's a perfect rating. I mean, and I mean, let's face it, most things aren't perfect. But I would say I'd probably a very strong 9. Yeah, very strong 9.
I would agree. I'd be a 9. Again, the only criticism that I'd have, and again, it's so minor, it's not funny. The only criticism that I had was sometimes I felt a little bit like some of the ancillary characters were sort of shoehorned in there a little bit. You need to care about these people because we need you to care about them in the context of the story. But they weren't quite there. It's the sort of thing that I think that you'd probably get more in a book, if you get what I mean, like those kind of ancillary characters.
Yeah, you never felt like they were important enough to really care about. Yeah. Like, they could have, and there was definitely enough. I mean, some of those characters were fantastic in their own right, but absolutely. Maybe because of the length of the series, you never really got to explore them as much as you would want to.
So hard to do in a television format. So hard to do in a television format. And again, showing complete ignorance, I don't know whether this is a book already. It may be, but it certainly, if it's not a book, it's something that I would enjoy reading a book about. To really get a lot more of those kind of subconscious stuff.
And you've got to be quite attentive. Like, I feel like Maniac's probably a really good one to watch again, because you've got to be quite attentive, because it is quite dense and it is quite it's very easy to miss very important points. Like, there's lots of little Easter eggs throughout the whole series, which is really cool.
Which sort of makes you want to watch it more than once. Like, you want to go back and watch it again and go, hang on a minute, did I see that? Okay, so now this just sounds like my complete bashing of American TV. So I thought that's why I was like, I better put something in there that I actually really, really enjoyed. Because there is something that I feel, there's stuff that I feel is awesome. But kind of on the How I Met Your Mother track, I want to talk about 2 big bugbears that I have with television series. The first is Friends, And the second, and I have a feeling we're going to disagree on this one. The second is Seinfeld.
Interesting.
So for me, again, and I made this sort of flippant comment earlier on How I Met Your Mother is kind of like Friends but funny. I tried to go back and watch Friends. I was dating somebody, a while back who was big into Friends and sort of wanted to watch the whole thing through again, and it just really doesn't grab me. Like, they are all incredibly hateable people. like they really are.
Yeah, you got Ross, who's whingy, homophobic.
Yeah, none of them are likable people.
They're just shitty people.
Shitty people. They are a group of shitty people living across the hall from each other.
Who can afford these expensive apartments.
Who do shitty things to each other.
What does Chandler even do?
Oh, shitty things to each other and shitty things to other people.
I'm Rachel and I work as a waitress and I can afford... Oh, mind you, she's got rich parents, doesn't she? So maybe that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get the Friends thing.
I think Friends was successful for a few reasons, and I'm just probably rehashing what's already been talked about millions of times in the past, but Friends was very much a time and a place thing. I think it was...
I grew up. And when Friends came around the first time,
Friends
still wasn't funny.
Had a cast that had unbelievable chemistry. That's one thing you can't deny. They had very good chemistry.
Yeah.
And very easy to watch. Friends is one of the easiest programs to watch ever because it just is. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's the joke format, which is like... I think the writers sit down and they go, if we don't have a laugh track in 15 seconds, then we need to add another...
Friends is easy to watch if you don't watch it.
If it's on at the back.
Like, yeah. I would actually find sitting down and binge watching Friends painful. Like, I would find that painful.
I don't see the point in it now. So, I mean, like, with... if anyone's listening that's not from New Zealand, New Zealand played endless reruns of Friends for years and years and years.
I'm sure actually they still do. If you've got free TV,
it's
probably still on in prime time.
They still do it. Friends is incredibly popular in New Zealand.
We're waiting to find out whether Ross and Rachel end up together. That's how far behind we are in New Zealand. No,
they were on a break. Okay, we were on a break.
Don't go there with me.
I'm not going there with Ross's shitty.
Don't go there with me.
Ross is. I feel sorry because I actually quite like David Schwimmer there's something likable. Ross is an incredibly unlikable actor played by a very likable actor.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with Friends. Characters, Phoebe's probably the only redeemable character. She's wonderful. I think Friends are really likable actors playing really unlikable characters. Yeah. And I think that's sort of... I don't know whether that's a thing that kind of comes into it. Friends also loves to draw out drama. It loves to draw out drama.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where you spend a whole season with Ross stroppy at Rachel and Rachel stroppy at Ross, and they're stroppy at each other because they're stroppy at each other, and oh great, let's see how long we can drag this nonsense out for. Like, I don't know.
I'm angry at you because you ain't the last bagel. I don't know.
The characters are very, very shallow. I mean, you have oh great, here we go, Chandler's being sarcastic again.
Yeah.
Oh wow, great, and oh good, Ross, let's all laugh at how he's a paleontologist. Yeah. Let's draw that out for 10 seconds.
But I mean, okay, so
and Rachel's blonde. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, so let's do like direct comparisons. Like, you sit there and you're going, well, How I Met Your Mother, same set in New York.
Barney's Joey.
Barney's essentially kind of a combination of Joey and Chandler.
Barney's worse than Joey, though.
Yeah, but he's kind of a combination of the two, right? And then you've got, Ted is essentially Ross, looking for the love of his life, kind of everybody makes fun of him for what he does.
Yeah.
But like for me, there were redeeming moments for okay, this sounds like a How I Met Your Mother podcast. Like Barney, right? For example, there were real moments that Barney could be a dick for most of the show.
Barney, you're a womanizer, but there's this one.
But there was real moments in there that you were like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you're a real human being.
The episode when he meets his dad.
Yeah. Or the episode when he leaves his girlfriend for Robin. Robin doesn't leave.
This sounds like the Friends title
Robin.
episode format.
Yeah.
The episode when...
Yeah.
The one where...
Yeah, the one where
Joey is sexist. No, I mean, on that note, though, Joey's actually quite a redeemable character. He's one of the few characters who actually respects women.
Yeah,
as crazy as that is. Yeah.
But again, but Friends could have been set anywhere. Just happened to be set in New York.
Yeah.
Whereas How I Met Your Mother, New York is almost as big a character as anybody else. Like it's a character in the room. We talk about where we are in New York. There's all sorts of stuff we're doing there.
We get it, guys.
I don't know.
You live in New York.
I just kind of thought How I Met Your Mother was Friends, but done better. Like
I can see
Friends.
that. Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get people's obsession with Friends.
It's easy.
And for my second big call of the day,
I think it's because we're looking too much into it. It's just easy watching.
It's just because all my taste is not in my mouth. Like the second big call of the day is Seinfeld. I don't get it.
Again, time and place.
No, didn't get it then. Don't get it now.
Seinfeld was revolutionary. This is the Seinfeld effect.
Don't get it.
And if you want to fall down a rabbit hole, don't go on TV tropes and don't read about this. It's called the Seinfeld effect. And what it is that every program since Seinfeld has stolen from Seinfeld. They've stolen the structure, the interactions between the entire structure of Seinfeld has been pulled apart, reconstituted, put in a blender, and just sort of
Congratulations. They put together a sitcom that worked. I think here's my thing with Seinfeld. Seinfeld is here's humor in Seinfeld. Humor is just some annoying twat from Seinfeld, doesn't matter who they are because they're all annoying, says something, says something again but louder, and then says it again but louder, laugh because that's funny, people. And you're like, but it really, and you're like, but it really isn't.
No.
Yeah, it is. It's the whole double dip. Did you double dip? I didn't double dip. I saw you double dip, but everybody double dip. You double dip. I can't believe you double dip. Like, it's like, that's not funny. It's just saying the same thing over and over again, but louder and faster. It's not funny. No. And that's Jerry Seinfeld's entire comedic career, is just saying things over and over again and louder. And for some reason, people go, he's a comedic genius.
It's not. No, it's
terrible.
Seinfeld's situational comedy. It's the situations. It's Larry David's bread and butter. It's situational comedy.
See, no, I kind of get Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I agree. Curb Your Enthusiasm's better.
Oh, absolutely. I get that, and I get it. It's that slightly awkward, and I'm going to say it's a little bit more... The Office awkward. Extras, that really awkward kind of...
Awkward. It makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, it makes you uncomfortable.
So cringy.
Yeah, you can only watch sort of one or two episodes because after a while it becomes too painful to actually watch. Yeah. But, I get that, and I get how that's funny. I just don't see... and I understand that Seinfeld had a time and a place, but it's just not funny to me. It's just not funny. And people are like, you need to watch this. It's the funniest thing you'll ever see. I'm like, no, it's not. And again, I'm wondering if it's a little bit like... So I'm a child of the 80s, right? And I grew up with, The Labyrinth and The Princess Bride, okay? As far as I'm concerned, that's right. As far as I'm concerned,
they're pretty screwed up, eh? Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, they're so screwed up.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Return to
Masters of the Universe, Return to Oz, all that sort of stuff. No, but to me, I'm like, The Labyrinth is amazing.
Oh,
the greatest films of all time.
Yeah.
Right? However, I have learned as I've got older, The Labyrinth is kind of something you need to have seen when you were young. Because if you didn't see it when you were young and somebody says to you, you've got to watch this film, it's amazing, you seriously got to watch this film, and somebody watches it when you're in your 20s, 30s, and they watch it, they just go, this is the weirdest thing. What the hell is this?
Where did this musical number come from?
What is going on? Yeah. And maybe Seinfeld's the same. Maybe I just completely lived under a rock during the whole Seinfeld thing. Don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Well, I do the same with... I did the same a couple of years back with Return to Oz. Made some friends watch Return to Oz. And I think it was largely the same. And watching it again, Return to Oz is pretty disturbing. It's very disturbing. In fact,
It gives me nightmares. Return to Oz.
I know.
I still remember
but
that
I
film.
loved it. It was my favourite movie growing up when I was really young. And it is actually a very good film. It didn't get the backing it deserved from Disney because, surprise, it was pretty screwed up.
Scared the hell out of people.
But
because they were like, you know what, we should take a movie that was about, just wishing you could be home, really nice, cuddly characters, everything else like that.
Musical.
You know what we should do? Start it in a mental asylum, have her disappear, have some queen with no face,
no head even.
It was just like,
that was terrifying.
dude, it was terrifying.
In the wheelies, the four
Oh,
wheelies.
it was terrifying for people who weren't children. Never mind, children. It was terrifying.
This is why our generation screwed up.
Yeah.
No, but I mean...
That's blaming Return to Oz.
Yeah, it's Return to Oz.
Yeah.
But even, the theory that when she goes to the mental asylum, there's a thunderstorm and she escapes, but there's the really, strong theory that because of the thunderstorm, it interfered with the equipment and actually affected her brain. That's... The whole movie is a result of her brain being fried. That's terrifying.
It's
terrifying.
It is terrifying.
It's a kid's film.
Yeah. It's nuts. All right, so I'm
back on track.
I'm gonna ask you again. I'm gonna bring out the only scale that matters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask you for an opinion on Friends.
Okay.
And again, I don't have specific moments in this that I think it jumped the shark. I think it went on too long. I think that once they started marrying each other and things like that, it had really gone on too long.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Seinfeld to give you moments in there to degrade, but I want to know what you think of both of those TV shows on the scale of 0 to 10.
See, Friends, I don't think has aged as well as a lot of TV programs.
It's aged badly, hasn't it?
I think if you were to ask me back in the day, I would have probably said about an 8.
Ooh.
If you ask me now, probably about a 6.
Friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
About a 6. Because I think there is actually a lot to it, purely because I think that chemistry between the characters.
Look, what I'll give Friends
There's some great episodes.
is it forged kind of the way of looking at a situational comedy over a hell of a long run.
Yeah.
I'll give them that. Yeah.
Yeah. Seinfeld 8.
Okay.
It's good.
Friends, about a 6 for me. Again, it's aged really poorly. Seinfeld, purely based on the contribution that it's made to the genre, 4. I don't find it
You're
funny.
giving it a lower rating than
I am.
Friends.
I am. I
You
don't
are
find it funny.
insane.
I would actively avoid Seinfeld. If somebody put Seinfeld on, even in the background, I would actively avoid it.
All
I
right.
find every single one of those characters... I know this podcast is intimate in your ears
This is
in
a
a way that's weird.
disgusting
that
use of the scale.
It actually burrows the whole timbre of the way they speak, the whole it just burrows into my ears and gives me a headache. I could watch Seinfeld for about 5 minutes before I'd just be like, this. Oh, I can't do this.
Okay.
I can't do it.
So on the subject, here's a segue for you.
Yeah.
On the subject of things we vehemently disagree on when it comes to TV programs, our next subject is The Big Bang Theory.
I knew you were going to go here. I knew you were going to go here. All right, okay. Big Bang Theory. I'll let you start with the Big Bang Theory because I've explained my dislike and so of shows that we've seen so far. So I'm going to let you tell me about your thoughts on the Big Bang Theory.
I hate The Big Bang Theory. I hate it in my very core of my being. I hate everything it represents. I hate this attempt at trying to appear funny and cool because, oh, look, we got a pop culture reference. Oh, look at us with our Alienware laptops, which even people who game don't use. We're all about branding. Oh, look. Oh, I said a smart thing and the blonde girl didn't get it, and we're going to make fun of the blonde girl because she doesn't understand the stupid scientific bullshit we spew out every episode. Here's a newsflash. No one cares. No one cares. No one thinks you're cool. And you literally are kind of... This may be controversial. They're exploiting the fact that someone's probably Asperger's. They're exploiting it. They're fully exploiting it for laughs. It's not funny. And he's a dick.
So I really feel at this point, Anthony, that you should really tell us what you really think about the Big Bang Theory. I think you know you sat on the fence a little bit with your.
I'll say this.
with your opinion. Yeah.
I'll say this. I'm not a fan of the Big Bang Theory.
I'm
not a fan.
So
I don't like it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've had numerous conversations about this particular TV show.
Boy, we have.
What surprises me, however, is that one of the reasons that you dislike Big Bang Theory is for something that it does that's quite similar to other shows that you've said you like. So, for example, their use of a laugh track. Their use of a laugh track is abysmal. I'll give you that.
No, I don't. I don't like the use of laugh tracks in pretty much every show. Because it's sort of this stupid cue of saying the audience are so stupid that they need a little nudge to laugh at something that's probably
hilarious
funny.
laughter at something that isn't.
It's such an outdated.
But I mean,
it's worse than Big Bang Theory because nothing's funny.
I mean, not that really I'm defending Big Bang Theory, but I'm turning around and going, but lots of those sort of situational comedies are kind of based on laughing at people. So I'm going to use Seinfeld as an example. Here's the one thing I know about Seinfeld. The soup Nazi, for example. We laugh at him because he's German and serving soup. Like, do you know what I mean? And we make references to the fact that he was probably a Nazi. Like, we do this, sitcoms especially do this, you're different, so therefore being different is funny. I enjoyed the Big Bang Theory early on. I enjoyed the Big Bang Theory in the first 2 to 3 seasons.
I thought you were going to say episodes.
No, 2 to 3 episodes. No, I enjoyed it in the first 2 to 3 seasons because I was kind of like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. Okay, cool. Unfortunately, as it's gone on, again, it falls into the same trap that everything that goes on and on and on does. You run out of ways to explore the characters in ways that still make sense. And we're now in these really bizarre situations.
Is it still going?
Yeah.
Oh God, how bizarre!
I think they've just said they're doing their last season or something. But I mean, I stopped watching because you've got to the point where you're like, we've explored these characters in every conceivable way.
They did that in the first episode, James.
Right.
There's nothing more to it. We're smart. You're dumb because you're a girl and you're blonde.
Anthony, I'm going to give you one far better reason.
I'm Sheldon. I talk really fast, and here's something that I know that you don't know, and I'm way smarter than you because of it.
I'm going to give you
Shut up, Sheldon.
one way better reason that they don't understand geek culture. Never mind the Alienware laptops. You could sit there and say somebody. Do you know what the biggest indication that they don't understand geek culture is? They use Norton antivirus. That's it.
Got him.
That's all you have to say.
Case closed, Your Honor. Lock him away.
Yeah. You are not. You are
FBI.
No.
Open up.
No, sorry. You use Norton antivirus. No.
But that's my whole problem with it. They're attempting to sound really clever and holier than thou and better than everyone else because of this. These cool little. The fact that they are really intelligent. They're obsessed with their IQs. Everyone knows IQs bullshit.
Yeah.
They're obsessed with their IQs and how much better they are than everyone else. They drive away everyone who cares about them.
Yeah, but do you know what I think is really funny is that you sit there
and Big Bang Theory.
But the sort of idea behind the show, right, is that here you have these 4 guys that are really geeky. Struggle socially, struggle.
But that's why it's funny because they're geeky and they can't talk to girls.
But struggle living in life, right? The fundamental problem the show has is not that. The fundamental problem the show has is that none of them actually do. They live in these giant apartments. They, can afford to go out all the time. one marries a B-grade movie star, and they all end up with very with good-looking, intelligent women who suit them absolutely perfectly.
Women who they consistently insult.
But do
series.
you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
none of them actually are struggling to live life. If you changed the name of the show, made them a bit older, it's How I Met Your Mother. Like, they're all like they're all really happy and fulfilled people who actually earn crap loads of money and do whatever it is that they like. And every now and then they go, "Oh, remember, we have to remind you that we're geeks. So look at us going to Comic-Con."
Yeah, they'll make a random...
Or, do you get what I mean?
A random reference... They'll pull out a reference that... The thing that annoys me about the pop culture references is that they literally make pop culture references to appear cool. Like, they'll Google it, they'll Google something. I could see the writers being like, what's really hot at the moment? They'll Google it and go, okay, we have to fit that into this joke somehow to make us seem really hip and relevant.
Yeah.
And oh, look, we just made a reference to Radiohead or something.
There was some really cool moments. Like, there were some really cool moments. I really enjoyed... I really enjoyed the bits with Professor Proton. Because I thought that's
actually a character. Professor Proton.
Okay,
come on.
No.
What is this? Watchmen?
Here's why I enjoy it.
Marvel
Here's why I enjoy it. Professor Proton is in the context of the show is an actor
very small
who was on children's TV.
Microscopic level.
You're gonna feel bad. He was an actor who was on children's TV. Who did science stuff for children's TV, right?
Bill Nye.
And he kind of like Bill Nye. Yeah. And he's credited as being the reason that Sheldon and Leonard and that got into science, because he was on TV and stuff like that.
Carl Sagan.
And they meet him and it's this big thing, and he's just this guy that kind of teaches a bit of science.
Neil deGrasse Tyson's in it.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he dies, and it becomes a whole thing about what does science mean to young people and that sort of stuff. And there were some really cool moments like that where I was kind of you've really hit, if you're talking about pop culture references, you've really hit nostalgia for kids TV, or the power that some of those kind of kids TV programs have, like Bill Nye the Science Guy, or that sort of stuff, the power that some of those kinds of programming have for young people. So they did some moments like that really, really well. But I sort of agree with you, especially more recently. Large amounts of it have just become, look at us, we're geeks. And we're geeks because we like comic books, or we like...
As if it's
we
still
know
the 70s or something.
who Stan Lee is, or we...
Congrats. It's actually a big problem with geek culture. A huge problem with geek culture is that it's putting themselves on a pedestal because they know something.
Gatekeeping.
Nail on head, it's gatekeeping.
It's
gatekeeping.
It's where you say, I like this thing, but you can't like this thing.
Yeah.
Unless you know this about it.
Therefore alienating everyone
Therefore
else.
alienating people from enjoying the same thing that you enjoy.
That's
So it'd be like me saying, I enjoy music. I'm a classically trained musician. I enjoy music, but you can't enjoy music if you can't tell me about the life of Beethoven.
Yes.
If you can't tell me who even was Beethoven, if you can't tell me, then you're clearly not a true fan. It's gatekeeping. And you see this with lots of popular culture. You see this with popular geek culture. So you see this with comic books. You see, and again, look, before I get crucified, this is not everyone, but there are big portions of communities that are like this. You see this in gaming. Especially online gaming, you see it in very toxic environments like League of Legends or those kinds of things.
Awful.
CS:GO, Overwatch, those kind of games where there can be very toxic online communities who are big gatekeepers, who will scream at you if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for new people to come in. You see it sometimes with comic books. Do you even understand who these characters are, or that sort of stuff. You see it with wrestling. You don't get this, you don't get how you don't even know these people, you don't even, and it makes it very intimidating or very hard for people to participate or pick up those kinds of things. And that's what worries me more about the Big Bang Theory, is sometimes I feel that they become gatekeepers. It's kind of like, unless you can pass this kind of knowledge of the show, you can't like Star Trek if you don't know Klingon. You can't like Doctor Who if you can't name me all 13 doctors in order. And
You've brought up a really fantastic moment in The West Wing. Fans of The West Wing will know what I'm talking about. When Joshua, they have an intern working in the White House, and she is wearing like a badge or something, like a fan badge of, sorry, my Star Trek knowledge isn't as good as it should be, but something like represent, because it was like International Star Trek Day or something. And people complained because it looked really bad, and she got real stroppy about it. And Josh basically said, look, I'm a fan of Star Trek as well, but if you're at the point where you're actually putting your job on the line for a TV program, that's a fetish. That's not, you're not a fan of it, that's a fetish. And it's actually like not healthy or professional. Like, so like sort of that's just another television sort of example.
All right. Well, I think that sort of. Oh no. Okay, we'll go back to our scale before I wrap up. We'll go back to our scale because I feel we need to do this, Anthony. Anthony. On the only scale that matters. The one and only. How do you feel about the Big Bang Theory?
The Big Bang Theory. 2 out of 10.
Ooh.
It's a 2.
Oh, okay.
It's a 2. I don't like the Big Bang Theory.
No, I was picking up vague hints along the way. That perhaps you didn't. Bizarrely, you might think I was going to go a bit higher with this. Bizarrely, I'd put it at about a 5 or a 6.
Wow.
I think it's probably commensurate with something like Friends. I think it's done a bit. I think in the early days, it did a bit for situational comedy that was slightly outside the norm, in that you didn't have an equal ratio of girls to boys or whatever, and it was less relationship driven, like in terms of romantic relationship driven. Kind of The Odd Couple, but on steroids. For that, I think it's gone downhill very rapidly, which is why it doesn't rate higher for me. And I think it will age poorly. I think it'll age poorly. I think people will look back at it and go, "Oh, that was a bit sort of on the nose. Oh, that was a bit." And again, I mean, it's the risk that you run when you reference pop culture stuff all the time. Is that it dates really badly. Like,
unless you're The Simpsons, they did a very good job of it.
But The Simpsons are still going. You just keep watching The Simpsons. True, but again, they kind of went up and then kind of gone down again, haven't they?
Yeah.
But I think potentially gatekeeping is something that we should have a bit of a chat about in another podcast, because I think that we've got a bit more to explore around gatekeeping, and we'll have a bit of a chat. So next week, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have a chat about gatekeeping, and we'll have a chat about gatekeeping and around some industries and some things that we particularly enjoy. So around music, which both Anthony and I are very passionate about, and around theatre as well, sort of gatekeeping and that sort of stuff in and around those two sort of industries, and how that can affect people coming in and that sort of thing. But I think that about brings us to an end. I think we've sort of.
I'm exhausted.
I know you've done so well. Anthony's been so sick, and he's really mission through. So that's why this podcast has just been a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more sort of
until you got to the Big Bang.
Until you got to the Big Bang, we triggered him. He's now going to go and sit under a blanket on the couch and try and recover from his explosion on the Big Bang Theory. But that's why we just thought we'd just have a bit of a chat about stuff we've seen this week. But as I said, join us next week for a podcast on gatekeeping. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, rate us, and hit us up on comments on Twitter, on Instagram. Please, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you think. We'd love to hear your opinions on any of the podcasts we've done so far, any of the things that we've talked about. Or if you have any questions that you'd like to ask us, it doesn't have to be on what we've already talked about. Can be on anything that you just like us to have a bit of a banter about, or any questions that you have about anything that we've said so far. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you very much for listening in again. Episode 3 of Esoterica podcast done. We got to episode 3, Anthony.
We made it.
we made it. We made it through.
Dude's always the best.
Absolutely. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday.
Thanks, guys.